finally be able to see you and have a conversation with you
I
rather than
know.
just WhatsApp.
I know, I agree. It's really nice to meet you. And you've done so much for my show. My God, I can't believe that much you've done for me. I mean, it's incredible. And I just want to thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you've done for me as well. So,
Well, this is all new. This is a whole new, it's a new medium to me, you know?
yeah.
You've only been on television since 1980. Off and on, mostly on. But this is a whole new world. I mean, this is a whole new thing. And I'm not techie, you know. I missed that lecture in school. So
Nobody is techie until they learn how to be techie.
mhm.
I'm techie, Neil's techie, but there was at some point in our lives where we weren't techie. We had social lives and we mingled with human beings and all that sort of stuff. And then that stopped, and we're like, we don't need other human beings. We can just, type on keyboards and
That's right.
things. So whenever I'm doing one of these, I hate the phrase interview. I don't. It always makes me uncomfortable because I'm not going to go, so I have another question for you. I always think of them in the same way that you do with your shows, I'm guessing, as just conversations.
Right.
You have set things in your mind that you think, I'm probably going to ask that. And I'm probably going to steer them onto this. And I do have that. But I always try and make them a little bit different. And your career is amazing. It's lengthy, and that's a good thing because there's so much stuff to talk about. And it's like, what do I choose?
Yeah, I know. It's true.
And there's also things that I do want to cover, like your YouTube channel and things like that. So I'm like, how do I do that? Because some of the things that I'm going to talk about are from the mid 80s. And the things that I know you want to talk about are from now. So I'm like, how do I blend these together? So what I've done is I'm going to do a little 3-segment thing, past, present, and future.
Oh, good. I like it.
So we'll delve into the past part. That's where I'll get my questions out of the way and geek out a little bit. How did you first get into acting? I had read up on you, and you'd done some beauty pageants. You'd won. And this was around 1980, 1979. And then this afternoon, I was watching your very first big screen appearance, Liar's Moon, where you were.
Oh, you saw me.
I saw you with Matt Dillon, and there was hogs running around and all that chaos and stuff. So let's go back to that first big screen appearance in Liar's Moon. What was that whole experience like, and how did you make the leap from beauty pageant, beauty queen, to being on a big screen?
Well, I was in college, and I had no interest in moving to LA whatsoever. And there was a terrible storm in Biloxi, Mississippi, the day after the Miss USA pageant, and no one could go anywhere. And there was no gambling or anything there, and there was nothing to do. There was the Royal D'Iberville Hotel and the convention center, and that's it. Now it's Gulfport, and it's this and it's that. But at the time, that's why they wanted to focus on it, so that money would come in there and the place would build up, and it worked. But there were 3 happy people the day after the Miss USA pageant, and that was the woman that won, her mother, and her pageant director, and everybody else just wanted to get the heck out of there.
Okay.
And so I ended up staring out the window with everybody else, looking at this torrential downpour, and Richard Klein came over to me, who played Larry on Three's Company. And he said, I just want to show you something. And I said, what? He goes, well, I voted for you to win all the way through. And I just want you to see these papers and see what I wrote. And you were just too young to win Miss USA. And I said, well, that's nice, He goes, they want somebody that's 21. And I said, okay, well, that's nice to know, blah, blah, blah. So my dad came over and we were talking, and he said, why don't you have lunch with us? And so we had lunch together, and he said, you want to be an actress, et cetera, you should go to LA. And I said, no, I'm going to New York. I wouldn't leave my family, forget it. So I come out here for 2 weeks, 2-week vacation. That's it. 2-week look-see in June 13th, Friday the 13th. And his manager wanted to meet me and sent me across the street to meet an agent, and the agent wanted to sign me right then.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's strange. I read something for him and didn't know what I was doing, and they wanted to sign me. So then I went back up to Michael's office and he said, well, I have a couple auditions I'd like to send you out on just to see how it goes. I said, I don't even have an 8x10 picture. So I got a national commercial that week with a Polaroid that they took. And then I got the movie Liar's Moon with no pictures, no resume, no nothing. I read for them. They liked it. I came back. I read for them again. And I called my mom and I said, they want me to do this movie in Houston, Texas. I've never been to Houston, Texas. How long does it last? 6 weeks? Okay, well, you can do that and then you can come home. I said, okay, that's fine. So then they want me to be nude. I'm like, no, going home sooner than I was planning on it. And this character she's trying to get these boys to do something she wants them to do. So she says she's going to be changing clothes in front of a window at her grandmother's house at a certain time. And so she's, taking a powder puff. So it's nothing too bad, but it just was not going to be working for me. So I remember standing there and looking across the fence at the girl that's the stand-in for me, that's the body double that I requested, on the other side of the window, and I'm watching her do this. And she was from Holiday Health Spa. She was 6 feet tall. She didn't look anything like me. She had blonde hair. That's it. And I was standing there going, but she should be a little more sensuous with the powder puff. She should be a little more do you want to do it? No. Okay, then shut up, Tonja. And so that's what happened. And I ended up, I just, everything I did, I just guessed. I had instincts and I just guessed. And the biggest mistake I made was this character changed her hair color constantly. And I didn't know that they said you could wear a wig. And I said, oh God, no, I want to be authentic. Well, it wrecked my hair. When I ended that show, my hair was like a purple green color and it was this short. It had gone from this to this. So so I really didn't know anything. And I just did the best I could. And I had a good time. And it was amazing. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. But they kept saying, you're a natural, you're a natural, you're a natural. And I had been trained in music. So that's how I ended up on soap operas, because I wanted to feel confident in what I was doing. And I thought that everybody had more experience than me. And then I realized that there aren't any 20-year-olds that have this kind of much experience, but I thought they did. So I studied my butt off, but that's how Liar's Moon happened. It was just happenstance. And then I just said, well, I'll just give it a try for a while. And I stayed 10 years.
And do you like watching your early roles? When was the last time you saw Liar's Moon?
God, long time ago.
Long time ago. Because some people don't I hate watching myself on camera.
Yeah.
It's just like, but is it something that you get used to? I mean, back in the early podcasting days, I hated hearing my own accent. I'm like, oh God, but you've got no choice but to edit yourself and, hear yourself. And you kind of just learn to ignore your own voice, or if you don't like looking at yourself on screen, your own face or whatever. But have you always been okay with watching things back, or are you not too keen on it for whatever reason?
I watch it from a director's standpoint. I watch it to critique myself and to see what works and what doesn't. And in daytime, there was a guy I worked with, and Bob Woods, and he had a VCR in his room. Do you remember what a VCR is?
I remember having my very first VCR with the remote control with a cable. Yeah, I have very fond memories of the old VCR.
So he had one in his dressing room that was hooked to the stage.
Yeah.
So he could record the dress rehearsals. And I thought, aha, they don't have time to give an actor direction on a soap opera. They're going boom, 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 boom. So if you watch the dress rehearsal, back when they even had time to have a dress rehearsal, which I don't even think they do now, honestly, it's crazy. He would watch the dress rehearsal, and then you would see, what was a better angle for yourself? What was a better choice for yourself? What was this working? Was that working? So that when you went up to tape it, because you really only had one shot at it after a while, it was at the beginning, it was much easier. And as time went on and it got cheaper and cheaper, they needed to make it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So you had to get everything in one shot, and you had to get it the first time. And the only way you could get them to do another take was to say a very bad word.
Yeah, cheaper and faster, cheaper and faster.
Yep, and if you said a very bad word, then they'd have to cut.
Yeah. Was there a lot of that go on where people go, do you know what, I'm gonna bring out the C word or an F bomb or
bad word that they couldn't possibly get by the standards and practices people, because the standard and practices people were very intense and they watched the show all the time. And if they saw a tongue in a kiss, they stopped it. That phone would ring. If you had two hips on the same sofa this way, you didn't have a foot on the ground, they'd stop it. It was so funny. Standard and practice is called cut. Wait a minute, we got to get that. No, you can't, blah, 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 blah. It was really funny. And now all bets are off.
They really are. It's like,
you can do whatever you want.
I think HBO are probably responsible for that back in the day in a cable. And then you look at The Walking Dead or something now, you're like, I can't imagine like a 3-year-old walking in and seeing that on the TV. They've been in therapy for decades.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's what that was about. So I like watching it to critique myself and to see if something's working. It's not like I enjoy my performance. I can't do that.
No, you're not the sort of person. It's like get some friends around. Hey, well, let's put one of my movies on. Sit down and watch. You can go to the bathroom later.
Oh God, no. No. I'm trying to figure out what to do with some of these pictures I have. There was a bar in my show called Olanov's and One Life to Live, and they had 3-foot by 3-foot photos of me. So it's my head, and it's this big.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah,
and there were 6 of them. Okay, so I was in I saw this the other day on Desperate Housewives because my daughter's watching Desperate Housewives now. Can you believe that? Isn't that funny? So anyway, in Eva Longoria's home on the show, her character has 3-foot by 3-foot pictures of her going up the steps. And I said, see, that's what they did with me. They want the person as an actor, and they want to make it seem like they've got this big ego. So they want to make this person be in every scene. Mm-hmm. If the camera goes this way, you see the picture of her on the stairs. Same thing happened in the bar. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these. I'm like, I auction them. That's a good idea.
I would auction. I'd sign them, auction them.
Oh, okay.
Give a percentage to charity or give none to charity. Forget charity, keep it yourself, that sort of thing.
Or I could donate them to charity and they could auction them off.
Definitely. People love signatures. You sign something, they'll be like, oh, I love one of them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
And the next thing I was watching, so I've watched you 3 times today. The next thing where you appeared on 2 of my favorite TV shows when I was growing up. The first one was Hunter with Fred Dryer. So you were in an episode of that, Rich Girl, if I've written the episode title down, playing Claire. So have you got fond memories of being in Hunter, or was it, you think it's a series?
It was a tiny little part. It was a tiny little part. It was.
You got to flirt with Fred. You got to flirt with Hunter. You got to, flutter eyelashes, and you got to upset Stephanie Kramer a little bit, who's like, knock it off, we're at work.
I know.
Flirting with her.
I tell you something, they've replayed that so many times that I still get phone calls from some friends of mine back in Baltimore that I went to school with. They're like, I saw you on Hunter again. I said, oh, good, another check for 32 cents.
Yeah. I'm in the UK. That show was huge in the UK. So many people watch Hunter.
It was huge here too. And it was on a lot. And the residuals were good for a while, but then
back in the day of residuals,
after a million years go by, you just get like 32 cents. So it must cost them about $3 to send you the check.
Yeah.
So now they have something at SAG at the union where if it's going to be a 32-cent check, you can just let them keep it and they'll donate it to the Actors Fund. So that's what we do now.
So at some point, if you don't get any checks for 5 years, somebody's getting like $1.50, aren't they? It's like,
Yeah,
woohoo,
there they go.
from Hunter.
There they go. Yeah.
But Hunter was great. And the next episode I watched you on was from TJ Hooker, which
Yeah,
I've mentioned to you before. That was a good, because a little bit of stunt work in that, where a bomb goes off and you get sort of blown to one side. That was you that did the stunt work. What was that like?
You have to have the right pads, and you have to know how to do the move, and they'll show you that. They have a stunt coordinator that shows you that stuff. And but I love that. That was fun. I did a movie called Kidnapped, and I was working with Ken Schreiner. It just so happened I hadn't been on GH, but we did this movie called Kidnapped, and I had to run with a rifle I had to hop over a hedge and then hop over another hedge while we're going after these people. And I pulled something in rehearsal. So before we could really do it, I was already injured, and I injured myself, right? So then I had to like fake it. I had to grit my teeth and do it after. In other words, if they had only taped the dress rehearsal, it would have been great.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So then I had to do it just as well in the take, and I was really in a lot of pain. So if anybody ever sees that, that's why I'm making that face. It was hard. That was hard. But most of the stuff I've done, the stunt stuff I've done, has been harmless. It's been harmless.
Because that was a good one in TJ Hooker. I thought that was gone. Because I put the episode on, I knew you were in it. I'm like, right. Where's Tonja? Where's Tonja? And you're talking to the senators, you're walking up the steps. I'm like, I mean, some would say that's a small part. I think in an episode like that, it's not a small part. It goes on for a small part is somebody holding the door open, and then that's pretty much it. But it was you were hounding the senator, and then the bomb goes off, and you get blown to one side. Somebody has actually captured that little scene where the explosion goes off. It's on YouTube. There's somebody that collects scenes from stunts in TV shows.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding!
And that little scene is on there. I saw it on the full episode because I've got all TJ.
I've never seen it. Right. I only saw it the first time it was on. That was it.
I mean, obviously, that's not the only thing on YouTube that you're on, and we'll get to that when we talk about the present part. But the past stuff, how much has the business changed from then to now? We're not dipping quite into the present and future yet, but a huge amount, or not?
Well,
because I mean, obviously, there's like streaming and all the different ways that people watch things.
The work itself it's always going to be the same, except for this AI threat. The work is the work. You're a performer, you're an actor. You have to do the same character development, the same backstory creation, the same blocking, the same rehearsal, all of that will always be the same. I mean, that's the way you make movies. That's the way you make television. That's the way the thing that's changed is the casting process. Okay. And because, I mean, that's the thing I see that's changed the most. I came out here in 2020. Yeah, January 2020 or 2019. And that's when COVID hit, right?
Yeah, early 2020, COVID sort of.
So we
pressed the pause button on the world.
Yeah, so that's when I got here, and so 2020, January 2020. So everything stopped, right? And there was no meeting of any humans for 2 years, and after that, they started allowing you to audition on screen only. So you'd have to set up something like this and find someone to read with you. So you'd have to find somebody that would come to your house, right? And read with you. And you would memorize the work, and you would rehearse with this stranger, and you would guess what they wanted to the best of your ability. And you would tape it the best of your ability and light it to the best of your ability, and then on your phone, and then you would send it in to them. So they didn't get to meet you. They didn't get to have your personality in front of them. They didn't get to see how you react to things that are going on at the time. They just saw your guess with the reader you picked and your performance for that. And that's it.
I guess I'm right, but you'll be able to tell me if I am right or not. But I'm guessing that is not the ideal way to audition.
It's awful.
Because
I hate it. 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 I hate it so much.
Tell me what you did. So you don't like it?
I really hate it. No, I don't like it.
Because I would think that
you've got no feedback, no response. There's no connection. There's no, you don't have any idea what they're really looking for. They put they write a little blurb on the casting notice, and then so-and-so's a sister of so-and-so who had an affair with so-and-so, and she's mad about such and such, and it's in this place, and go. That's what's written down, right? And then you have to sort of figure out, well, how does she feel about this situation, that situation? You make it up, but you don't get to ask anybody if that's the right direction that you're going, right? So you do the best you can. And I've gotten work this way. It's not that. It's just that I hate it because I don't want to be alone. Acting is not an alone job. Now, you want me to sing you a song? I'll put the tape on, I'll sing the song, I'll knock your socks off, okay? But acting is not a singular endeavor.
No,
it's
acting it's sport. Reacting, isn't it? Is it acting is reacting,
yes.
I think is the phrase.
There's no one to react to. Yeah. There's nobody that knows what they're doing that's in the room, that knows what they want anyway. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know what they want. There's nuances I can add, and there's things I can do differently. And I feel really bad for my daughter because she's a wonderful actress and she hasn't gotten in front of people at all. And then they'll bring in these people that are influencers that are not performers, that are not actors, that have no training. And they'll cast these influencers who are not actors. And they wonder why the shows aren't doing well.
And the reason they cast influencers as actors, if those influencers aren't actors, is because, oh, look how many people will look at the thing that they're in because this person has 500,000 followers.
Yeah, it doesn't
and
really.
It's crazy.
It doesn't really marry. One doesn't really marry with the other one. If you have a name in show business, it's because usually you've done a quality of work over a period of time, and people think you're great because they know what you're doing and they love what you do, right? Yeah. If you're an influencer, why do they like you? Do you act crazy? Do you recommend cool things? Do you make people laugh at silly things that you've created yourself? But what performance have you done? What acting have you done? What have you made people feel? What have you pulled out of people besides shock and awe, right? And that only lasts a short time online. And when you're casting somebody from with that criteria, how long is it going to last in a 30-minute show or an hour show? That's weird to cast things that way. I mean, it doesn't make sense. But they're doing it. They're doing it.
Do you think it'll spring back, or do you think this is just something that's here to stay and it may calm down a little bit, but it's probably not going to change?
I can just tell you what I see as far as the news goes. For instance, people are starting to turn it off, and they're starting to go online to find different points of view. And networks are losing people watching because there's all these streaming services,
Yep.
And the fact that things aren't staying on the air, like Blue Bloods has been on the air for a long time, and you can count on that show.
Yeah.
You can count on that show. I love that show. I think Tom Selleck rocks. I think everybody on there is so good. I think Wahlberg is great. I think they're great. And it's going off the air now. And it's been on like 13 years or something. Dick Wolf came back, thank God.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my God, he came back from. I mean, he's had a franchise for a long time, and then he went away for a while. Now he decided, I'm bored. I think I'll have another franchise. So he owns 3 nights a week. He owns the Law and Order night, which I think is Thursday. He owns the Chicago night, which I think is what is that, Monday or Wednesday? And he owns the what's the other one? Chicago FBI night. That's the one that's Thursday.
So he's back.
He's so back.
Good.
He's so back. And he knows how to hire people, and he knows how to write a story and have it stay on the air and have people want to see more of it and hire people that know what they're doing. I love this man. I mean, I've never met him, but he knows what he's doing.
Dick Wolf is one of those names, and again, I've never met him. I don't know him. I'd like to, but I don't know him. Where if his name comes on the credits, you're like, oh, it's Dick Wolf show. And you can go, I'm in safe hands for the next 42 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
all is good.
And Belisario was the same way. I mean, there's just certain people that were around a long time ago that are still around, and they still know what they're doing.
Belisario, Steve Bochco was another one. I'm like, oh, Steve, I would actually watch a show if Stephen Bochco was involved in it, because I'm like, I like his other stuff. I will watch this one.
That was the LA Law and
LA Law, Hill Street Blues, and
that was the
like
one.
that.
Yeah, it was just great. But it's a little different now, I have to say. But the worst thing is the casting portion for those of us who are performers. It just sort of stinks, you know. The thing I like about it now, though, is if you don't like it, you can fix it. If you don't like it, you can make your own thing, and it doesn't have to cost $1 zillion. You know, like I'm writing something that will cost a lot of money. I'm writing a international thriller that's got a wonderful family element to it, and it's really great. And I've been working on it for 4 years now, and we're about ready to pitch it in May, so we'll see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, my partner's in Quebec, so the time difference has made it hard for me to get out, because if I start at 1 o'clock, I'm in the house from 1 o'clock till 6, 7, a long time. So I try to work 4 or 5 hours. So, I mean, it's hard with 3,000 miles, and it'd be almost impossible with somebody in England.
Well, it's sort of. I mean, I used to work nights at my I don't work for a filmy job anyway. I wish I did, but my paying job was a night job, so I used to, stay up all night anyway. So
yeah.
I'll be your England hub. It's fine.
All right.
I could sleep in the daytime.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
So my final part of the past, and this is a question I've always wanted to ask somebody, and it fits in perfectly with yourself. So 1988 to 1990, General Hospital, if the internet is correct.
That's right.
Then you're away from the show for then. You've gone to, well, you've not, but your character has gone to, or you just disappeared, didn't you? You're like, she's run off. Olivia's run off somewhere.
No, I was in a coffin, honey.
Were you in a coffin?
I was dead.
Ouch. That's a long time to be in a coffin.
No kidding. 26 years.
And then 2017, you come back.
Uh-huh.
So is that a case of you get a phone call or an email one day and it's like, hi, it's General Hospital. Do you know that character you played in 88 to 90, the one that went in a coffin? Do you want to come back and do it again?
Well, Frank's my friend. He called me on the phone. He's like, hey, Tonja, how would you like to come back to the show? I'm like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Because my husband had been diagnosed with cancer and life was pretty dark. And I was so happy to be asked to work again. I mean, just so happy. And I had been asked to work by Frank on One Life to Live, and like several times, like in 2004, 2005, 2010, 2011. And then the show got canceled. So it had been a long time, since 2011. And I was so happy to go back there. But then when I got back there, I was still too heavy. I wanted to be thinner, and because this came sort of out of nowhere, I didn't have a chance to lose all the weight I wanted to lose. My hair had fallen, a lot of it had fallen out. It was this long. The nerves of having your husband with pancreatic cancer and 2 little kids, it was really, really, really hard. But I did the best I could with what I had, and I went back there, and then the story didn't make sense to me, because we had already wrapped this up. This obsession with Duke had already been wrapped up, and Olivia had gotten killed because she had fallen in love with the hero of the show, and she had found that she was lovable and that someone could actually love her, and she realized what was right and wrong, and she went back to the judge to turn herself in, and her brother thought she was going to turn him in, so he shot her in the back and killed her. Okay.
Ouch. Yeah.
So I go back, and she's obsessed with Duke again, and she's crazy again, and she's writing these terrible letters with cutouts of we already did that. We did just so many things that I knew that if I was watching it, I'd be so upset, you know. And then he said, well, a lot of people that were watching the show when you were on are dead now.
That's okay then.
Talk about an ouch.
It's like, thanks. You make me feel wonderful.
I know, right? They don't know. They don't remember that. I was like, okay, if you say so. I was like, whoa. Well, there were plenty of people that remembered it. Okay. And that the people that didn't remember it, they're not going to like me at all, because they had me doing things. Olivia always had an undertone of that you could identify with her pain, right?
Yeah.
Well, this was just plain mean. She was just plain shooting people, kidnapping people, shooting people, having people, who wants that? So I tried to play, the same kind of pathos inside of her, but I wasn't really able to do too much with that. But anyway, they had said they were going to bring me back that October. And I had gone to see a friend of mine in Texas, and I was so excited. And she wanted to show me Austin. So I'd never been to Texas. I'd never been to Austin. I really couldn't wait. I'd been to Houston to do that movie, but that's it, right? Yeah. So I'm down there, and I come back, and we've seen Austin in the bus and everything stuff, and all the cool stuff that's going on. And I went to bed, and I turned on my Twitter, and I saw that people were kneeling for the national anthem. And I was like, that is the most unpatriotic thing I've ever seen in my life. Why would anybody kneel for the national anthem? And so I just wrote on there, if it weren't for the soldiers that are willing to risk their lives for your ability to make millions playing a game on Sundays, you might be raking leaves somewhere. And the reason I said raking leaves is because I was trying to come up with a mundane job that would evoke some sense of humility in which is what I was going for here. Don't be so proud of yourself that you think you can just on your country, right? Well, I didn't know they had a cause. I didn't know that there was a cause involved. I had no idea. I didn't know it was an equity thing or an equality thing or a Black Lives Matter thing. There was no Black Lives Matter. I didn't know anything about it. Nothing, zero. It hadn't come out yet, but they were still kneeling for the anthem. I immediately got called a racist. And it was like popcorn in a microwave oven. So I said, you might be raking leaves somewhere. And then, you're a racist, 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 you're a racist. Well, I've got all kinds of Black friends, and my daughter has them at my house on the weekends, and my girlfriend's daughter's an African American, and I'm her godmother, more or less. I was there on Gotcha Day. We celebrate her Gotcha Day every year, and she got adopted. Just stupid, one of my best friends in New York. So I started to say those things, And then they're like, yeah, I got a black friend. Ha ha, you're a
Yeah.
Karen. And it was so, I didn't know what a Karen was. I'm like, what's a Karen? It was devastating to me. My mother's whole side of the family, my grandpa lied about his age and went into the Navy when he was 14. And he was always in the service, like as long as I can remember. He was in every war. And my Uncle George and my cousin Ronnie and my Uncle Clyde and everybody was in the service, everybody. So I thought it was unpatriotic. I didn't know, what it was about.
I mean,
they called me the next day and they told me that that they weren't going to pick up my story for October. And I asked them if it had anything to do with the tweet, and they're like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? But obviously it did.
But it likely was, yeah. And yeah, this was what year? Like
2017. I was supposed to go back in October, and I haven't been back since. And then, and I've had people tell me not to say anything that sounds the least bit conservative online.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to not have any conservative views when I'm a conservative person.
I think I'm guessing we both love the internet because the internet is enabling us to do this, and it enables us to set up YouTube video podcasts. And so the internet is a great thing, and it has lots of things about it we love. However, the internet is also a terrible, nasty place. And I think since COVID, I think there was a 6-week period where it certainly was in the UK where it was like lockdowns, right? Everybody stay at home.
2 years we had that. 2 years.
Yeah, but for the first 6 weeks, everybody went, not a problem. We'll stay at home. We're fine. We will not go near anybody. We'll wear a mask. It's all okay. And then after about 6 weeks, I think a lot of people got bored. And they're like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. Stay inside and wear. And it sort of this whole bubbling under everything's a conspiracy. I disagree with what you say. Therefore, you're an enemy. We can't have a discussion about our different things. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Pick a side. You've got to pick a side. It's like, no, I have friends who were very anti-mask. I wasn't like anti-mask at all. I would wear one because it made no difference to me wearing one, and it was fine. And yes, it made my glasses steam up, but if it helped somebody else or made somebody else,
that's the part I hated was the glasses steaming.
It was horrible. You're like, ugh.
Then I had to get the kind with the pinch, the little thing that
get those ones.
Like that. Yeah, and then it keeps the air inside the mask.
But I never fell out with these friends of mine. I listened to their views, and I'm thinking, I don't agree with your views. But that's okay, because you probably don't agree with mine, and we're still friends, and we'll still listen to each other's podcasts. And I think that a lot of that's gone from the world. Because obviously in America, it's, are you Biden or are you Trump? And if you're the opposite of that, then, oh, you're an enemy. Go, no. Are you Xbox or are you PlayStation? Are you Star Wars or are you Star Trek? There's no, let's have a discussion about why you're this, why I'm that. And then we'll drink a cup of tea together and we'll have a nice conversation throughout the afternoon and we'll leave as friends. It's all, and social media.
It used to be private, you know that.
Yeah.
You used to go into your little voting booth and whoever you voted for was private.
Yeah. But now and social media is very bad for that. You or I could go on social media and go, and we'll use the raking leaves as an example. You go, why? You could all be raking leaves, so you should stand up for the national anthem. Fair thing to say. And then people will go, oh, you're being racist. And then you go, oh, actually, I could see why you would think I was. So let me just say what I really meant was, oh, you're trying to get out of it. You've been caught. So no, I actually said something. I'm now going to, thanks for teaching me the correct phrase. You can't win. So when you're going out defending yourself, they're like, oh, look, we've got her in the ropes. And it's like, no, we're trying to have a conversation.
I didn't know I had any enemies. I didn't know I had any enemies at all. I mean, I never had any enemies in my life, show business wise.
They're keyboard enemies.
Yeah,
there are trolls online who just sit there and they will go after anybody who they just choose to go after. The problem is the big studios and the corporations go, oh, this very, very loud minority, these keyboard warriors, they're actually the majority, so we can't upset them or they won't watch our programs anymore. What do they want? That person not there anymore? Let's get rid of them. And we've seen it so much over the past few years where somebody is involved. Somebody this week or last week, they were a showrunner on a show that's due to come out and they've been fired because they had an OnlyFans account, apparently. Why would you fire a showrunner for that? It's not like they're doing weird stuff on it. I don't know what they were doing on it, but they were sacked from that because the corporation's like, oh, quick, get rid of him. So whoever gave you the advice of maybe not be too vocal on social media, I get your side because instinctively I'm like, I can say what I want. I've got nobody's going to suppress my thoughts. But also I understand that whoever may hire me or you or whatever can also turn around and go, we don't want to be associated with someone who is vocal in something that the minority keyboard warriors don't agree with. So it's that whole, I don't know what the balance is. I get both sides. I understand both sides, and I've been on both sides. So it's a tricky one.
I think here there was a trajectory established with a certain group of people, and it was the Democratic trajectory. It was supposed to be Obama, 8 years, Hillary, 8 years, and Biden was supposed to be in there eventually, maybe, but maybe not. It was supposed to, but it was supposed to go, and they had it set up that way. They had a plan that way, long term. And Obama said he wanted to fundamentally change America. I think that's the words he used. Want to fundamentally change America. And cool, I guess, right? And I mean, it depends.
Yeah,
what
it
is
does,
it
doesn't
that
it?
you want
What are you
to
going to change it into?
change? Yeah. I don't know. It sounded good at the time. It really did. I liked him. I voted for him. I thought he was great. So I was confused when I saw the vitriol with which they went after Donald Trump. And I was upset about the fact that it was clearly started by that NBC tape that he obviously didn't know he was being taped on, where he said that horrible thing about grabbing women.
Is this the grabbing? Yeah.
Yeah, but that was saved by NBC, obviously, and then timed so that it would be released at a time that was absolutely horrible for him. It was a gotcha. And it was established by the media. And that kept happening. And that kept happening, and that kept happening. Then it started to be by the courts, you know. I think that anything you have to do with Stormy Daniels is disgusting, okay? But how many of these other guys have had situations with prostitutes or hookers or somebody else's wife that don't get reported, that don't get put out there for the world, that don't get that attention? I don't know.
I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I would say it's probably quite a lot.
It's been happening since Shakespeare was writing about it with the king this and king that, you know? I mean, it's been happening for years. I don't know why we needed to. I mean, we know that and I love John Kennedy, but we know that things were created for him to be able to sneak women in and out of the White House, and no one reported that ever.
No, because we now live in, as we touched upon in 2017, we now live in a world where it's teams. We live in a polarized. It's not just America. We're like that here in the UK.
I don't understand the point of it. What's the point of it? I mean, are we trying to ruin people on purpose? Because it seems like we are. We're taking the worst possible thing that they've ever done, and we're making everybody in their world know about it. Now, the problem with Trump The biggest problem with Trump is
Yeah,
Trump.
there are a
His
few.
mouth, his own mouth, because he will say things and you're like, please don't say that. Don't say that.
Yep.
You look at the TV and you're like, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
But
And
he
he'll
says
say
it.
it, you know, and you're like, oh God. My husband and I would sit there and go, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And a lot of people I've talked to did that. They'd watch him talk and they liked everything he said up to this point, and then it would be like, oh God, don't please don't say that. And that was a shame, you know. And after he won New Hampshire, he did not need to trash Nikki Haley. That was rude. And whenever you treat women or say bad things about women, and you're a big tall guy, you look like a punk. You look like a jerk, you know.
Yep.
And I decided I don't want him. You know, I'm sick of saying shut up to somebody that should know better than the things he should know better. Right?
We had the same problem in the UK, and Boris Johnson was our prime minister for a while. He was a wannabe Trump. He was sort of like someone who looked up to Donald Trump going, I want to be just like you when I grow up. You know, he had the same crazy hair and the same I'll say whatever I want, and he won. And then he broke loads of rules and he had to get kicked out. And now we've got another idiot, an unelected one in running our country.
One? You have an unelected one?
We have an unelected prime minister who was fined for breaking COVID rules, and he was having parties whilst everybody else was locked down. And he became prime minister after being fined by the police for breaking the COVID rules that he helped set out. So it's you know, people go, oh, look, America's in chaos. You're like, so's the UK. So are many countries. It's very polarized.
There was a hidden camera in San Francisco, I guess it was, where Nancy Pelosi went to get her hair done during COVID. And they show her with no mask walking in, getting her hair done. It's like a black and white camera that's way up here. I don't know if you guys saw it on the news over there. And it was like, you know, okay for thee, but not for me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she was getting her hair done during COVID when everybody else was not allowed to do anything, you know. And I understand why people get angry about that stuff.
Yeah.
The entitled thing. Gavin Newsom went to this restaurant that I don't know if I could afford to set a foot in, called the French Laundry, with like 12 of his best friends, all of them sitting around having this ridiculously expensive, I mean, super duper duper uber expensive dinner. I guess it's in Napa or San Francisco. I really don't know. But he got in big trouble for that. Because we weren't allowed to go out and do anything with anyone. And he was at this big, you know,
Yep.
I hate mandates of any kind. I think that's sort of not freedom. But I also think that going after people for talking is really, really awful and dangerous. And I wish people would listen to some information about how Marxist Mao. There's a woman that I saw interviewed who has just written a book about what the Chinese called the Cultural Revolution that took place during Mao. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they started by pitting people against one another, which weakens a country because people are fighting with one another. So that
sounds familiar, doesn't it? We're walking down familiar territory here.
And then they started trying to control what people said, and they would arrest you for saying things that were wrong. They would arrest you for worshiping in places you shouldn't be worshiping, and choosing gods that you shouldn't be choosing. They wanted you to do work that they wanted you to do. Yep. And it became more and more restrictive to the point where she says, and I wish I could think of her name, but I should look that up and send it to you. But she's talking about the danger of what happens when they try to separate people within the family too, like the kids start thinking this way and the parents think this other way. So that family starts to get decimated and diluted, and the neighborhoods become segregated and diluted, and it's just, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening right now, you know, and the media only reports what they are told to report.
Yeah, of course.
They slant their news to please their employers, their bosses, the people that own the company.
I mean, I always think, don't get your news from one source. Look at several different news channels and then blend them all together, and you'll get a general overview of what is possibly going on. But even then, you're still missing things.
Well, we
don't just watch one.
Independent news companies do not have the amount of resources that these huge conglomerate networks have. They just don't have the money that they have. And they've been bought by a number of people that have a direct impact on what news is covered and what is not covered. So there are so many people that, I mean, Adam Schiff, I'm going to say his name, got in front of people in Washington, D.C. and was proven to have lied to Congress by Horowitz, who was a special counsel here, and Mueller, Robert Mueller. None of the stuff that he swears he saw, that he swears was proof of all this Russian collusion, and I'm not saying I'm a Trumper, I'm just saying I'm a media lover and I'm a free speech lover, and I'm all about free speech. And for somebody to try to take the votes of people away because they don't like the way the thing turned out, well, tough. How many people have been president that I didn't give a crap about, you know? And I just had to wait it out. I had to wait it out. And that's just the way it goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, you know, buck up, right? So he gets up and says that he's got absolute proof that these horrible things happen, and they're disgusting things. And we find out that the dossier was written by Christopher Steele as a propaganda piece for Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and it was paid for by them, and that all of this stuff, there's absolutely no proof of any of it, right? And therefore, the impeachment has to be thrown out twice. Well, now he's on TV right now in California saying, I stood up for democracy. And he's running against Steve Garvey, who was a really big time baseball player over here.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, but if you're a liar,
get out.
You're supposed to be gone. If you lie to Congress, that's a felony. You're supposed to be gone. Bye.
I'm currently under the rule of a prime minister that has been caught lying many times, and he then became prime minister. So
I don't understand what's going on in the world. It
blows my mind. But it is a very polarizing world. I think we do still have freedom of speech. It's just with freedom of speech, it also comes the consequence of a company going, yeah, well, we can now react to your freedom of speech. So we're not going to put you in jail for saying what you did or tweeting what you did or Facebooking what you did, but we're not going to renew your contract. And I think that happens way too many. How many times has somebody been accused of something and then they lose everything, and then it comes out, oh yeah, they didn't do what we accused them of anyway, but they've already been found really guilty by the Twitter court.
And you're not really allowed to like change your mind. Or
no,
evolve,
you can't. No.
I mean, I've evolved to the place where I really like Robert Kennedy Jr. I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
The problem we have is that if we don't come together and choose somebody that's not what we've got, we're going to end up with what we've got. And what we've got has made the world, in my view, catch on fire. So it's very scary, you know, all the crime we have now, and the economic trepidation that people are in all over the country, the expense of things, the wars all over the world. We really need to be sure that we get somebody in there that won't allow it to happen, or that is crazy enough or scary enough to keep people from taking those chances, or that's a good diplomat that really knows. I think Kennedy would be great at that. There's a lot of people that would be very good for us. But something has to change, because clearly things have gone down the toilet, and we've got 8 million people here and we don't know who they are. And that's really frightening. That's really scary. And our cities are going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm sorry, fire me. I mean, go to New York and tell me it hasn't gone to hell in a handbasket. Go to San Francisco and tell me it hasn't gone to hell in a handbasket. It has. So someone needs to change. Something needs to change. And I think a lot of things need to change. And, I'm not saying Trump is the solution. I'm just saying that something needs to change.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is it? I think that's probably the best answer, isn't it? Something needs to change. What does? Something. Move on. Next question. Something needs to change.
It really does. And we have to go with the people we're given. We've always had, for the past several years, the choices haven't been great.
Same here in the UK. We've got an election this year as well. We can have person number one, who we don't really want, because he's a liar, and he's and then or we can have person number two, who just nods and says whatever he thinks we want to hear. I don't really want either of those two. Oh no, you've got to pick one of them. I don't know. You might as well just flip a coin.
That's the problem. That's the problem. We haven't had, for several years now, we haven't had great choices. And that's that's just the way it is. And I would think that the reason that's true is because who wants that job?
I wouldn't, not in this day and age. I mean,
who wants that job?
I would, but I wouldn't last very long, I think, because I would say and do a lot of things that people are like, we're cancelling you for that one. I'm like, I really don't care. I'm going to do these things. I'll change stuff. I'll stir stuff up. Just do what I do. Just think, you know what? The world outside could stay there. I'm just going to go watch Roadhouse and Predator and Die Hard. I've gone back and I'm just rewatching old movies because they're my comfort zone. It's like, dude, the modern world can just go away. I'm going to watch some Patrick Swayze movies and
I loved him.
And things like that.
Wasn't he wonderful?
He was wonderful. Again, there's a remake of Roadhouse coming out. I think it looks quite good.
Why would they do that, though? It was perfect the way it was.
Well, yeah, but it won't erase the original one. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal in it. He's a good actor.
Oh, we like him.
He will be good. We like him. But the internet was mad. They were like, how dare they remake a classic? Firstly, the Patrick Swayze film, I love it dearly. It's not a classic, really. It's not Casablanca or White Christmas or anything, but it's a great film. And why remake it? It came out in 1989. Come on, seriously. It's okay to remake Roadhouse. It's okay to remake The Crow. It's fine. It won't erase the other one. But the internet is like, get it. They need to chill out, I think.
Yeah, I understand.
What they need to do is watch this new YouTube show called One Date to Love.
Oh, mine!
It would chill them out, wouldn't it?
Thank you. It does chill people out. We have a lot of fun on that show.
And do you find it's a very relaxing show to watch? It's a very interesting show to watch. Is it as relaxing?
It's like pulling up a chair at lunch with me and my friends. It really is. It's exactly the same. If we were having lunch somewhere and we were going to kibitz about the things that happened at work or the things that happen in your marriage or how things go with your family, God, I can't find a date. I've been on these stupid dating sites and it totally sucks. Or I fell in love with this guy and it turns out he was such a con artist. Or I'm falling in love with people that live in the Netherlands. I don't know how many hours is that my free here.
You need to just
Why do
put
I
your
need to leave the country to find somebody that I want to fall in love with?
You need to just put your search parameters down to Florida, because you've got a thing about Floridians.
I do have a thing about Florida because I want to retire in Florida.
Hi there, you look nice. Are you from Florida? No. Go away
Bye. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good idea. I could put Florida in there. And then, but then I'd have to figure out, why do you want to go out with me if you live in California and I live in Florida? And I'm like, well, it's a good question, because I'm willing to fly. I'm willing to fly to see you, vice versa. There's the original idea was I wanted to be a sitcom about, I wanted to write a sitcom about my, okay, are we out of time?
No, I'm fine if you are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're running by your clock.
All right. So there was a in 2019, I was going to take my children on a cruise, and Ed and I had promised, and so we were going to take them on a cruise, and so I flew them both to the Marriott out here, and we stayed we have a lot of timeshares with them, so we stayed in the timeshare, and they came in to see me in the morning, and they said, Mommy, when we get on the cruise ship, you're going to have to get 2 rooms. And I said, guys, this is going to cost me a lot of money. Why do we need 2 rooms? Because you snore like a train. And I said, I do not. And they said, you do, and nobody can sleep. Nobody could possibly sleep with you. Now, this is devastating.
Do you know what I think? I think they snore, and they didn't want you to realize that they snored, so they were going, "Oh, it's you that snores." That's what I think they were.
I wish that could have been true.
Conspiracy.
I wish they could have been true, because they taped me.
Or they taped them.
No, there was only one.
I'm trying to bail you out here, Tonja.
It didn't work. It didn't work. So I had to get this. So I had to get 2 rooms, and I had to go to a sleep apnea place, and blah 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 blah. So my idea of sleep apnea was, I had my stepdad, I'm not home that much. So I remember my stepdad's first foray with this CPAP machine was this big over the face. I thought of it looked like Hannibal Lecter. So I go to sleep and I wake up in my dream. Okay, I'm in my dream and I'm like in love with this man, and we come home from this wonderful day, and we have this great date, and I'm finally in love with somebody. We went sailing, we had the best time. We come home, it gets romantic, we go to sleep, and then I have to wake up myself, because I have to go in the other room, find my machine, sleep on the sofa, hide, put it back, get back in bed, get my makeup on, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, now I'm going to wake up. I'm going to be so tired. I'm going to be so tired. I'm just going to want to, oh my God. So I get up in my dream, and I'm absolutely exhausted. And he gets up and he's like, oh, honey, it's so good to see you. I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? I've got my eyes held open with toothpicks, and he makes breakfast, and then he gets ready to leave. And I'm like, oh, we have the most wonderful time. Bye. I love you. And he leaves, and I go over the sofa and I just pass out completely, just like conk. And then the phone rings, and it's him. I'm coming over. We're going to go back out on the boat. I changed my mind. I canceled my plans. We're going to go back out again. And I'm like, oh my God.
No.
So this was right. So this was my scene that I wrote in my head from this experience with the kids. So I wanted to get a talk show with people calling in with all these funny stories about dating at our age, dating like over 40, like dating now. Because it's totally different. Dating after COVID, something like that. Well, I really thought it would be funny, and I didn't need to have celebrities on the show. I just wanted people to call me with their true stories, Well, then my friend who has a show, her name is Cindy Gross, and she has a show called Cindy and Friends, and she's great. She said, you've got to have so people on, because that's your audience. Those are the people that know who you are. And I said, but I don't know. I think I'm getting away from that. She goes, no, not a good idea. I said, so, okay. She goes, so call it soaps or not. So dating is not a soap opera. I said, no, I can't do that. So, because I had all these really cool names for the show. So, I decided I would come up with a name that sounded a little soapy, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's how I came up with One Day to Love, because it only takes one day to fall in love, right? So I started having people on the show from soap operas, and when they come in, I don't have any notes. I don't have anything. I know these people. So it's just talking, like you said. And it's a lot of laughs, and it's personal because I know these people, forever. And I'm getting to see people that I haven't seen in eons. So it's really, really fun. It's like Old Home Week. That's what we should call the show, Old Home Week.
Spin-off. There's lots of Dynasty had Knots Landing. There's all sorts. You could do a spin-off show. Do lots of shows.
Yeah, but I really have enjoyed it,
And you've got 11 episodes at the minute that are on your channel.
Now I've got 12. I just did another one with with Martha Byrne. Yeah.
And I think, because I'm UK, so I'm not familiar with a lot of the names that are on there, but that doesn't make the conversations any less interesting.
Oh, good.
And it is just like watching two people or three people having a conversation about something that affects everybody. And you go, I'm just going to hang out, get some snacks and some drinks. I'm just going to sit and watch these two people talk about stuff and have a laugh. And it does work. I think the length of the show is perfect. I think the format of the show is perfect. You're now an audio podcast as well as a video podcast, so you're pretty much everywhere. And you were still enjoying the episodes as much as when you were doing the early ones?
Well, I have to pay for that studio, so I have to wait a little bit till I, gather enough sponsors to do it again. So it will take me about 2 more weeks, I think.
Yeah.
I really love being in the studio. I love Zoom, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that I really miss being in front of a camera. I really do. I miss the camera and the makeup people and the lighting people, and I miss all that. And I love in person, I'm an in-person person.
Same.
So I would like it better if I could have people in person,
I do a lot of in-person interviews with filmmakers. During COVID, obviously that wasn't a thing. So it all became Zoom. And I like Zoom because I can go, I've got an interview in 10 minutes, put the computer on, put the headset on. Hello, how are you? Tell me about your new film. But there's something more special about sitting down next to an actual person. Oh. You're not busy going, have I got the lighting set up? Is it still recording? How long have I got left? You're just going, I'm going to talk, and I'll instinctively know when this person needs to go on to do something else. And there is something. And it would be the same with the auditioning in person. You're not busy watching technology because that distracts from a conversation. So I tend to I'll sometimes check on the technology, but I just ignore it and go, well, hopefully it's working.
Well, how did you get into doing what you're doing?
I've always been a film fan. Since I was a kid, I used to take myself off to the movie theater at 7 years old, 8 years old, go off and watch like The Cat from Outer Space, Superman the movie, and just on my own. And I'd spend all day in the movie theater. I had like a bit of not a great childhood, so I would just always go in my bedroom and watch TV. And I moved to England, managed to escape my life in Scotland, moved down to England when I was 15, still a big film fan. I'm giving you the very quick tour here. Got a part-time job in a video store, got a full-time job in the same video store, became the manager of the video store, and then owned the video store. And then in 2003, when the rental market went by, it's not profitable anymore. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to close the video store. And so I decided to just start up a podcast in 2011. Thought I'll do 6 episodes because I'll get all my movie stories out the way and then I'll be done. But then things kept happening. I'd watch more movies. I would, go on Twitter and speak to people. And I would sort of end up being able to hang around with the people that make the films, who would go, well, you're very passionate about what you do. You know quite a lot about what you do. You're pretty good at what you do. So hang out with us. And
that's awesome.
It's pretty much how it's. And video podcasting is kind of new to me. I've always done audio. I find audio easier, but I'm getting used to the video side of things.
Yeah, I like the connection.
Yeah.
And
I do.
And if it was acting, you know, it would still be more of a connection than it is when you're reading with someone.
Yeah.
And you're playing another part.
Yeah.
And they're not an actor. You just got, you know, whoever's kind enough to come to your house and do this for nothing, you know. But that's the hard part about the auditioning thing now, you know.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy talking to people. I love people. People are my favorite thing. And I like conversation, obviously. So, yeah.
So a very, very sort of short one, otherwise it messes my whole trilogy up. So we've covered the past, we've covered the present. What are your plans for the future? And obviously that can be to do with your YouTube show or just things in general. What's in Tonja's future?
I don't know. My prayer is that God will give me something that'll make me light up inside, you know. I feel like I need to do something about this free speech thing. I feel like I need to do something about the media not covering the news. So I'm interested in that. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I've been talking to some people that are pretty important about it, and I'm going to see if they have something that they want me to do. There is one man in particular who wants me to write a newsletter, and he thinks it would do really well, and that I should do that. So I can see myself doing that. It's not
newsletter, website, podcast. I think the problem, and I'll use you as an example because you're a better example, or maybe me as well, is I personally can't get cancelled because I don't earn any money from what I do. Nobody employs me to do podcasting. Nobody puts money in my bank account. Go, we need your show. We rely on your show. So I'm not beholden to anybody else to pay my bills. So I could go on Twitter and go, all politicians are idiots and you're all stupid and you're brainless like sheep or whatever, to use that as an example. So I couldn't get cancelled. But if I was reliant on a Disney or a Warner Brothers or whoever else, Universal, give them a shout out, then I would definitely be, maybe I'm not going to say that because my money tap will get turned off and then I can't pay my bills and I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the difference.
I'm not interested in saying anything tremendously controversial. No. It's I mean, I could, but I know better than that.
You're like, no, I've learned that one.
I know better than that.
Stop doing it. Yeah.
When I was in journalism school, you're not allowed to have an opinion. You're supposed to have, you know, who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's it. You know, no adjectives. Who, what, when, where, why, and how, and that's it, right? Yeah. So that we need more of that, you know, and then things just need to be reported. Things that are going on need to be reported, and they're not. You know, they're not. A lot of them are not. And the things that are being chosen to be reported are meant to gather people and push them over in this direction. And that's not right. And that's dangerous, you know, I think. So maybe there'll be a place for me in that world. I also have this wonderful series that's a thriller that's really fun. It's going to be a limited series. It's very filmy, very much a film. It's just a series. And we're going to pitch that in May, and that takes a lot of time. I have a new movie that's going to be screening tomorrow night.
What's that called? What's the movie called? This episode may be out, so it'll probably be out after the movie was screened. But what was the movie that screened tomorrow? But after
it's just for the cast tomorrow. It's just for the cast. It's not really out. It's called The Last Culprit, and it's about a group of killers that go to meet in one particular place for a particular purpose. And I have to leave it there. But I get to play a killer again. So that was fun. Yeah, I know. I always play the same darn thing.
But you do it well. You play it well. That's the main thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, people used to say, this one lady at the Woolworths used to say, you know, when I went in with my mom one time, she goes, you drink milk? You're buying milk. You drink milk? And my mom said, what do you think? She drinks blood? Because that's when I was on General Hospital and I was just evil at the beginning, you know? So yeah, so that's cool. And then I have a television show called Destination Heaven that I did a year ago in the springtime, and it didn't get on the air because it was supposed to be the last episode of the series. And when the network that saw it, said they wanted to put it on first, and the producer said, no, it's supposed to be the last one. And so that's sort of in a limbo sort of state, but I got to work with Harry Lennox and Doug Jones. And
Nice.
I just, oh God, what a lucky girl I was, So yeah, I want to do more of that. I'd like to do more theater too, you know. So I'm pretty much up for whatever I can do it's going to feed my soul and maybe make a difference in the world. That's what I'd like.
So when I said, what's planned for your future? Like, I don't know. And then you're like, theater, movies, TV, making a difference. So you ended up coming out with a bit of a shopping list, including milk, not blood.
And a book. No, but you have to, things have to pay, I have to make a living.
Yeah.
So I have to figure out what's going to pay me,
Exactly. But I enjoy watching what you do. I've enjoyed our WhatsApp conversations and whatnot. But it's nice to finally been able to virtually connect through the interwebs.
You helped me so much. I'll never forget it. I can't believe you figured out how to get me out there with the podcast and how to just everything. I mean, you just really have helped me so much.
And I didn't know how to do that until I learned how to do that. So you said at the beginning you weren't very techie. I had no clue. I was so close to going, I'm not doing any podcasts because I can't work out how to sound clip, how to edit something. I really couldn't. It took me all afternoon to cut a little piece out. Didn't know how to do it. Now I can have a show online within 20 minutes of finishing it. Video takes a little bit longer than audio, but
well, I have to learn that one. That's the one I really have to learn. Yeah.
I could teach you that one. I'll be your Obi-Wan Kenobi. You can be the Luke Skywalker.
I think you have to come over here to do it. I don't think it's something you can show me on TV.
I'll send you lots of screenshots and how-to videos. And
all right.
And but yeah, what's your plans for the rest of the day?
I've got I've got to eat lunch. I haven't eaten all day. And then tonight I'm gonna go to something. I don't know what. I haven't decided. I've got a couple invitations, and then tomorrow I'm gonna drive up to Newport Beach, and I'm gonna stay at a beautiful hotel on the ocean. It's gonna be cold, but I don't care. And then I'm gonna chill out a little bit, and then go see my screening, and then come back the following day for St. Patrick's Day. It's a big party. I've got.
Send me a picture of the ocean because I haven't seen the ocean for way too long.
All right, I will.
Send me a photo of the ocean.
I will.
But yeah, thank you very much for taking the time out to do this. I've had a blast.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
We'll have to get you back for a sequel at some point, or you get me back for a sequel.
Oh, I've left out a lot of stories, so I would love to do it again. Okay. God bless you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.